everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ask an Author. Today, I'm really excited to have one of my author BFFs with me, Melissa. Welcome.
Hi, Michelle. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm so excited because whenever I talk to you, I just imagine what it would be like to live inside your head. It would be like living in the most amazing amusement park. You always have ideas coming out everywhere.
Sometimes I think it'd be pretty scary.
It might be a bit scary as well. But tell me, how did you get started, or when did you discover that you wanted to be an author?
Well, writing's always just been something I've done. Sorting out stuff at my parents' place because they're in the process of downsizing. I discovered some notebooks that my parents had from when I was probably in about grade 1 or grade 2. And there's some stories in there and I'm looking at them going, gee, for a kid that age, that's actually a pretty good story.
So you're just awesome right from the beginning.
Absolutely. But I think I must have had some really good teachers even from really early on. But in VCE was when I really sort of found my voice, because we had to do a writing folio as part of our English assignment. And that involved producing a certain number of pieces of writing in different styles and genres, and then submit them at the best pieces at the end of the year for our mark. And so those who didn't really like writing much just wrote the bare minimum. But I just wrote so much in that time, and I actually won my first award when I was in year 11.
Congratulations.
And then I went on for a short story that actually was called Chameleon, and it actually got the the counsellor of the school calling me up because it was about child abuse from the view of the child. And they called me up to see if everything was okay at home.
So you're very good at putting yourself into kind of other people's worlds.
But I also did a lot of research.
Yeah, I love research.
So
favourite things to do.
So do I. And if I don't have people saying to me, stop researching and start writing, I just keep researching.
Yeah.
And then in year 12, I actually won an award for a play that I wrote.
Oh, wow.
So
you write all different sorts of things.
I do. And I find that different moods will take me and I go, oh, actually, I've got this story idea and this would make a really great, women's fiction novel, or this will make a really great picture book. Oh, hang on a second, it's actually better as a chapter book, or vice versa. Or there's a couple of short stories that I've written that I go, you know what, this would actually be better as a picture book. So I go and edit it and edit the words down and yeah.
That's amazing. And I love that you kind of don't define yourself. So like if you've got an idea, then you just have to honour the idea. So listen to the story and make the story what the story wants to be. I love that.
Yeah. And that's what I mean by being in my head is sometimes really scary, because I'll sit down and go, okay, I'm going to work on such and such a story. And the characters in my head are going, no, you're not. You're going to work on my story. And I find that I have to go and work on that story. Otherwise, the other one, it's just not going to happen.
No, they won't leave you alone.
No.
That's awesome. Well, listen, we've got some really great questions that kids have sent in. So let's see if you're brave enough. Speaking of scary, I've got this book, and this is the book that I write down all of the questions that the kids have sent in. So let me find your page. You've got some questions here.
Okay, bring them on.
Okay. So Lucy wants to know that have you always loved books, or is it just something that happened as you got older?
I've had an interesting relationship with books at different times of my life. When I was younger, I lived overseas for 3 years. And one of the first books I can remember being given to read was Storm Boy by Colin Teal. And I would have been about 6 or 7.
Was it the big, like it wasn't this like a little book, was it a little bit bigger and it had the pelican and the the boy on the cover?
I think so, yeah.
Yes,
And
I can remember reading that one too.
And it was given to me because it was Australian and I was Australian. And I can remember being given the book to read, but I can't actually remember reading it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But books has always been my thing.
Yeah.
And there are times in my life when I just can't read.
Mm.
And often it's times when life is just ridiculously busy.
Yeah.
And like when I had small children, most of my reading was picture books to them. I didn't do a lot of reading for myself.
Yeah.
But it's the same with writing, is that I will read whatever. And so I've always loved books. I always get upset. I got upset when my mum went and got rid of a whole lot of our picture books, and I probably would have been about 16 or 17. And mum was getting rid of them, and I'm going, no, you can't. Mum's going, but you guys aren't reading them anymore. And I'm sitting there going, that's not the point.
They're my friends. You can't get rid of them.
There's one that she got rid of, and I keep thinking I'd love to find that book again, but I haven't been able to find it. So.
What's it called? Can you remember?
It's called Mr. Bear Baby Minder.
I've never heard of that.
And it was about a bear who ended up babysitting all these little rabbits.
Oh.
And it was a gorgeous story.
That's so cute. Well, hopefully, if anyone...
So I'm thinking one day I'll probably find it in an op shop or something. And
yes, and it'll be meant to be.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so Sophia asks, do you have a favourite?
Favourite what, sorry?
Favourite book?
No.
Okay. All books equally.
Yeah, and it depends on my mood which one's my favourite at the time.
Mm.
So when someone says, what's your favourite book of all time? I say, can you narrow it down, please? Is it picture book, chapter book? Is it or a novel, or is it a, dinosaur book, or a, you've got to be more specific. There's too many. I can't just choose one book. It's like trying to choose your favourite child.
Yes, which you're not allowed to do, apparently. You're not allowed to have a favourite.
No. And it has to. And when they said choose your favourite child, it's meant to be one of your own.
Oh yeah, see that's.
Oh yeah.
I know. Okay, so Lena has asked, where do you get your ideas from?
Everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I can get ideas from dreams. So there's sometimes when I'll wake up and I've had a dream and I go, oh, that's going to make such a great story.
Oh, wow.
I get ideas from my kids and my nephews. I don't have any nieces, but these boys in my life are a constant source of amusement and inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
I get them from story prompts. I get them from like TV shows or talking to people or reading other books. Really, ideas can come from anywhere. There's one time when I got an idea because I was eavesdropping in a cafe, which I probably shouldn't have been doing, but there was this conversation, it was this really loud conversation, and I'm sitting there going, okay. And there was another time when I was on the train and I could only hear one part of a conversation on a mobile. And so I started jotting down and the other side of the conversation, or what I imagined would be, and that was fun.
That's cool. So do you have a book that you write your ideas and everything in to keep them all together?
I have books and pieces of paper all over the house. And I'm in the process of sorting things out so that we can move. And the number of pieces of paper that I have found with story ideas on it, and every time I find something, I say to my kids, oh, look what I found! And they just go, oh, Mum.
Not another one.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. That's so cool. Maddie has sent in a question. She wants to know, are you scared of anything?
I don't like spiders, but I'm not necessarily scared of them anymore. Yeah. I just don't like them.
Yeah, I know, I'm the same. So it's not necessarily like if I can look at it and not run away.
And I can get rid of I can get rid of huntsmen in the house.
Yes. Yeah.
But I don't like them.
Yes. And Sienna wants to know, do you have a favourite animal?
At the moment, I'd have to say blue-tongue lizards and budgies, because that's what we have as pets.
Wow, you've got a blue-tongue lizard.
You do. Her name is Jodie, after Jodie Whittaker, who plays the Doctor on Doctor Who.
Oh, that's so cool. And is Jodie like cuddly or?
Well, according to my 16-year-old, she's very cuddly, but at the
Oh.
moment she's in brumation, which is a bit like hibernation, but for lizards.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, yeah.
Josh wants to know, do you have a favourite sport that you like to watch or you like to play?
No, I'm not really sporty, although I've written a draft of a book that I need to finish about AFL football.
Oh, cool.
And so my 16-year-old, my 18-year-old, who was 16 when I first wrote the story, keeps correcting all my sporting terms.
Well, it's good. You've got an in-house editor for that.
I do. It's great.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. And Annabelle wants to know, can you sing?
Not really.
In the shower? Or?
Well, I sing at church when everybody sings. My sister has perfect pitch.
Oh, wow.
And so I grew up with her telling me that I couldn't sing.
Oh.
But then I go to church and everyone goes, oh, you've got such a lovely voice. And I go, okay. But I think I'm a bit self-conscious about it.
I think I'd just stand next to her and pretend that I just go and think that she was singing. Oh, yeah, that's all me.
Yeah.
You got, your siblings, you got to get something out of them, don't you?
Exactly.
And okay, who we got here? Jackson wants to know, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Depends on what age. When I was about 12, I actually wanted to be a chemist, because I went to school right near Monash University, and a chemist from Monash University came and did a bit like a show with a whole lot of explosions and things. I thought that was really cool. And I really like science and that sort of stuff. Unfortunately, when I was younger, being an author wasn't considered an appropriate career. So I knew I liked writing, and I knew I liked science. So at one point I was actually looking at being a science communicator. So a bit like Dr. Carl, writing about science.
Love Dr. Carl, yeah.
But now I've discovered that being an author, but it also means that a lot of my love of science and things I can build into stories. So, and that's one of the great things about being an author, is you can get all these things that you used to want to be when you grow up and put into your stories, and you can still learn about all that stuff.
You never stop learning.
Which you can't do in a lot of other jobs, it's great.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool. Cody wants to know, do you think that books can change the world?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's a lot of questions for kids that came in, I guess, just because of so much that's happening in the world at the moment that's out of our control. And I guess a lot of kids who were sending in questions, a lot of them were about, do you like to escape into books and do you read books to, I guess, disappear into other worlds? Is that something that you did as a kid?
It is, because I got bullied as a kid. When we came back from overseas, I really struggled to adjust. And so books was my escape. But the other thing with books changing the world is that if you read books and you read widely, so you don't go, oh, I really like Harry Potter and just read books that are similar to Harry Potter. But instead you go, I love books. I want to read a book with a really good story. And you go out and you read really widely, and you don't sit there and you go, oh, well, I'm 12, so I'm only going to read the books that are aimed at 12-year-olds or whatever. So you will still read picture books, you will read chapter books, you will read middle grade, you read non-fiction, fiction, you read such a wide variety. It can also help educate you on a lot of issues. And just the knowledge that you get from books, and even just from fiction, like I really enjoy reading historical fiction and discovering things that I never knew happened. Like recently I read a book about the land girls in Australia during the Second World War. Now, I didn't know there were land girls in Australia. I knew there were in Britain, but not in Australia.
Yes.
So I love that book, learning all about this part of history that I hadn't learned about before. it was great.
So cool. And it's so cool now that you can do your research and do what you love, and you can be one of those people that can change the world by the books that you write.
Exactly.
So cool, so cool. So what do you think is the most important thing about what you do?
That's a hard question.
We ask the hard questions.
Oh, you do. I think the most important thing is to write a good story, something that is engaging, because if the story is not engaging, it doesn't matter how much good stuff you've got in it, people are not going to read it. So it's just like with a picture book. You've got to have a good story and you've got to have great images, because that's what's going to draw people in. With a good chapter book and a good novel, regardless of what it is, you've got to have a good story to draw the reader in. And then you can teach them about whether it's some big issues like Black Lives Matter or Aboriginal deaths in custody or whatever, these really big issues, or even smaller issues like how to be friends with, someone down the street, or, all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
If you don't have a good story, you're not going to get the information across.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I think it goes back to what you were talking about before, that there are stories everywhere. And if you want to be a good author, then you just need to write, and let the story find you. That's so cool. So
exactly.
What would your advice be for kids who are thinking that they might like to be an author when they grow up?
Right. Just practice writing, because it's like with anything else. Like say for example, you're learning an instrument. You get better by practice. And it's the same with writing, and you don't have to write the same thing over and over again. You can just find a random writing prompt and just write a little story, or write a poem, or write a play. So just write. And the other thing would be read widely, because that way you're going to see how other people write and how other people do things. And because there's been times when I've read a story and I've gone, I don't like the way they've done that. So I'll go and write my version of how I think that, how I would do it.
Yeah. That's so cool. And I think with the reading and writing and reading and writing, and that's the thing that you learn and you get better without even realizing it. Like, and when you have it, it's not hard work. It's
fun.
Yeah, it's so fun. So
yeah.
Fun. Yes.
And the other thing is also sharing with others, because like I know with my kids are now 18 and 16, but they've got nephews who are a lot younger cousins who are a lot younger than them. And so my 3-year-old nephew loves it when his older cousins come over and reads him stories.
Aww.
And even the 9-year-old cousin, my son gets on Zoom and reads him a story, like chapter books, regularly.
Yeah.
So it's sharing the stories as well, because then you can get other people's feedback and other people's interest. And reading out loud, because that's one of the things with editing, read it out loud, you can hear also how people put the words together.
Yeah, that is so true, so true. And I think it all comes back down to connecting, doesn't it? It's not just connecting with the story. Books can connect people together.
Exactly.
And that's pretty magic, really.
It is.
Yes.
It is. And
so, yeah.
I was going to say, and just so many people think, reading, it's just such a solo activity, and you're not, you're just doing it on your own, whereas actually you can do it with your friends.
Awesome. So if we've got some kids watching who'd like to contact you and maybe ask for some advice, is there a way that they can contact you?
They can contact me through the Junior Writers Club. It's easier to spell than my surname. So if they go to juniorwritersclub.com.au, there's a contact page, and all the emails and everything will come to me through there.
Beautiful. And can you tell us a little bit about the Junior Writers Club?
Sure. The idea of the Junior Writers Club is to help young writers have fun with writing. So we have weekly writers groups. There's programs where you can access writing prompts. We're going to be having competitions and things like that, as well as putting together an annual anthology.
Awesome.
So you can get your work published as well.
That's amazing. Well, make sure you check it out. Now, if anyone's got a question that hasn't been answered today, if you pop it in the comments, I'm sure Melissa will be happy to go back and answer any other questions. And make sure you hit that like button so that we know that you've put a comment in there. And don't forget to subscribe, because I think that we should have Melissa back to answer some more questions about what it's like to be an author. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. And I can't wait to read more of your amazing stories that come out of that carnival head of yours.
Thanks, Michelle.
And I won't be scared, I promise. And everybody say thank you so much to Melissa. Yay! And
thanks for having me.
And make sure you subscribe so that you can join us on another episode of Ask an Author. Bye.